Hey guys, Andrew Shrout. I'm here in the sideboard. I'm sitting with Mark Montgomery. How's it going, Mark?
Hi.
This is the first weekend that we have been offering modern Premier IQs. So, as a means of celebrating that, I decided that I wanted to do a modern deck tech. So, you're actually playing in the Premier IQ.
Yeah.
And you've chosen to play Blue-White Tron.
Yeah.
So, tell me a little about this deck and tell me why you chose to play it.
Well, Blue-White Tron's essentially a control deck, Blue-White control deck,
Right.
with a ton of mana.
Okay.
So your main game plan is just to be a control deck, wrath the board, keep control of everything, and then as time goes on, you'll get the Tron pieces and you can go over the top.
Okay, so this is not like a kind of a dedicated combo Tron deck like the red-green Tron decks?
No.
All right, so the Tron is basically just there for value rather than for kind of like a dedicated combo purpose.
Right.
Okay, and then the card that I think that is really the centerpiece of the deck, at least from what I watched you play, you're playing 4 Gifts Ungiven.
Yes.
Tell me a little about that card.
Well, Gifts Ungiven, it gives you the ability to get any of your one-ofs in the deck. I've got a ton of one-ofs.
Okay.
And it also lets you win the game out of nowhere.
Right.
Like my first opponent was playing Mono Blue Delver. On turn 3, I did Gifts Ungiven for Unburial Rites and Iona.
Okay.
Play it back the next turn, say blue, and they can't play any more spells.
Okay. All right, so yeah, so maybe there is a little bit of a combo element to your deck then, I suppose. Yeah. For those that don't know, you can Gifts Ungiven and only choose 2 cards, and if you do that, they both go to your graveyard. So the idea then, get Gifts Ungiven and a big thing to get out of your graveyard, and then just untap and cast Unburial Rites.
Exactly.
And you have access to an Elesh Norn and an Iona.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one or the other is going to be a huge play against whatever your opponent is playing. You have access to you have one Emrakul the Aeon's Torn as well. But of course, you can't put that into your graveyard with Gifts Ungiven and then Unburial Rites it because it shuffles your deck.
Right, but it allows you to do all kinds of different things by shuffling in your whole deck.
Right.
So you just keep redoing your whole deck, keep doing more gifts for gifts, and it's just a huge loop.
Okay, so like when the Unburial Rites plan doesn't work out, then the idea is to just kind of gifts for value.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned specifically you have 1 Wrath of God, 1 Day of Judgment, and 1 Supreme Verdict. So that allows you to, when you cast Gifts Ungiven, you can present a pile with 3 different Wrath of God effects.
Right.
So you're guaranteed to get at least 1.
Exactly.
And then, of course, as the game progresses, you're gifting. You've gifted more and more. You can eventually get Emrakul.
Right.
And then the Emrakul ends up in your graveyard, and you kind of shuffle back and do it again.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And then, so the Tron pieces, of course, like Urza's like Tower, Mine, and Power Plant. Those kind of enable all this by making Emrakul like a real threat, I suppose.
Right. It makes many things. Like I've got Karn, so just incidentally, if I get the 3 Tron pieces, I can play Karn, play Wormcoil, and it makes playing a control deck a lot easier. Because earlier I had 15 mana, did Sphinx's Revelation for 10, had 2 mana to do something with.
Sure.
Leave up Negate or something like that.
All right, fair enough. Revelation for 10.
Yes.
You won that game, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Revelation for 10 will do that.
With mana up to do other stuff too.
Sure. That seems fair. And then, yeah, you mentioned your deck is a lot of 1-ofs. Certainly, there's a ton of 1-ofs here.
Yep.
The other like prominent 4-of, you have 4 Thirst for Knowledge.
Yeah.
Tell me a little about why you're playing that card and why you're leaning on it so much.
Oh, I've got 5 artifact, essentially lands.
Right.
The Talismans of Dominance and
Azorius,
yeah. And I can either discard those and draw 2, and that's really dug me out of a lot of my mulligans.
Okay.
And then also it just lets you get to where you want to be.
Right.
And one of the worst feelings is when you draw Unburial Rites. If you have Unburial Rites in your hand, you just discard it. And there's another way of getting that into the graveyard.
All right, that actually makes a lot of sense. Like with this Unburial Rites plan, there are a lot of incidental pieces that can be awkward to draw.
Right.
Yeah, even in the early game, you don't necessarily want to have drawn the Iona, for example. Like maybe later you would cast it, but being able to set it up that way. Okay. Let's talk about your matchups a little bit.
All right.
What are you hoping to play against?
I'm hoping to play against really slow control decks, like blue-white-red control, blue-white control.
Okay. Just somewhere where you're kind of playing the same game, except you have a mana advantage?
And I have Emrakul.
Okay, all right.
They're trying to beat me with like Celestial Colonnades, and I've got my own Celestial Colonnades. So I essentially bore down everything except Emrakul and Celestial Colonnades.
Okay.
And just grind it out until I get Emrakul.
Okay. So a mana advantage and kind of inevitability in a sense.
Yeah.
All right. So what are you hoping to avoid then? What's your bad matchup?
I don't want to play against Infect or Affinity.
Okay.
And it was awesome. I drew in the second round, and I'm hoping there aren't any Affinity or Infect players in the draw bracket.
It seems unlikely.
Yes.
Okay, so basically just decks that are very, very fast and can kind of get under you before you establish your defenses.
I don't do anything until turn 4.
All right, so basically any deck that is faster than Wrath of God.
Exactly.
Which those do exist. Yeah. I think Affinity and Infect are the 2 prominent ones there. All right. Sure, that makes sense. You mentioned you picked up a draw in round 2. How's the tournament gone for you so far?
It's going very well. Having a lot of fun. The deck's a blast to play. Every game's a little bit different because you are playing with so many different 1-0s.
Yep.
Thoughtseize has been a little bit of a problem, but so far it's a lot of fun.
Sure. Awesome. So we're in round 5, I believe, of the modern IQ right now. You're 3-1-1, so certainly still alive to pick up that win there.
Yep.
I'll be rooting for you. Thanks for sitting down with me.
Thank you very much.
Stick around. We've got plenty more coverage coming of the Legacy Open here in Baltimore.